What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Tuesday, November 5th, Election Day. I should know that here in the States, but that's neither here nor there. We had Monday Night Raw last night. I'm stoked to get into it. We don't have NXT today, but we do have it tomorrow, live from Philadelphia at the old school ECW arena. And I've got one of my esteemed colleagues who will be in the building for that event here with me today. First off, Anthony, head of opinions, how excited are you for this show? And more importantly, how much fun was Raw last night?
Tomorrow night I'm super excited about it. And Clark, I take the responsibility of you mixing up the days because you're so used to Thursdays with me doing the Thursday shows with me.
This is your fault.
It's rarely I do this is why I've never won the Tony Award. But yeah, Raw was fun last night with different things. And I can't wait to get into it.
I can't wait to either. Honestly, I forgot about the Tony of the Week. I should bring that back. That was a great gimmick.
It was not good.
Up next, though, we've also got Mr. Jordy in the bank himself. Happy Tuesday, my friend. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm still recovering a little bit because I was ill. So if I start coughing at any point, just please forgive me. But I wasn't missing another Tuesday. Not a chance. I really enjoyed Raw last night, man. It was a great showing. It was fun. It felt a bit different with it being in Saudi. I know it was taped, but with that in consideration, as far as tape shows go, I would say it's one of the better ones. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk about it too. And that's a great point you brought up there. It is just interesting to see it in Saudi Arabia, taped, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I thought they did a good job with it. I thought it was a good show too. Out of the gates, first topic, we've got Io Sky is our new number one contender for Liv Morgan. Kind of a funny little setup segment there with Liv and everybody, but Io picks up the victory, deservedly so. Interesting coming off of the match they put on in the Fatal 4-Way. I thought tag run was still in the cards considering Io and Kairi Sane, how well they've worked together. I have no issue with you can plug and play Io Sky in basically any role in the WWE women's division, and it's going to work. I have no issue with her being the first challenger for Liv Morgan. However, before I toss this one to you, Jordy, I'm a little bit like, I don't see, for the first time in years, when I see Io Sky versus Liv Morgan, I don't look at Io Sky as the favorite to win that match. Like, I think Liv Morgan is going to keep that title. I got to get your thoughts on it and the execution with the Battle Royal last night.
Again, as far as Battle Royals go, I have to say I did enjoy it. I thought there was moments here and there throughout the match that were great. I really enjoyed Zelina's elimination on Ivy Nile with a 619. I thought that was fun. Like I say, again, these matches can sometimes be a bit of a mess. I don't really think this one was. I think it had a decent bit of structure considering it had obviously the tiny little tease of Bianca and Jade turning towards each other. First time we've probably seen that happen since the Rumble, I think, obviously on Jade's debut. So in terms of Io, though, Io winning, yeah, I agree, man. It's tricky. I don't know which way to go with this. Io's obviously the face going into it, but Liv's such a good heel. That's the thing, and I think that's why you don't consider Io as favorite. Like we see a lot of things being said about Liv always running away. Yeah, she's got Raquel, and that's what a heel does. How many heel champions have we seen in the past? Like, they're not always big and scary. Sometimes they are sneaky. Sometimes they always just sneak their way to a victory. Never really deserve it. And it rubs people up the wrong way, and then you end up getting booed. So I think she's doing a great job at that. Where it's going, though, potentially with Raquel and Liv and stuff like that, because obviously they eliminated Bianca and Jade. I don't want to see the tag belts get tied up with Liv and Raquel while she's holding the world heavyweight. Yeah, I don't want to see them all tied up together.
I had that fear too, and I can see a little bit of like Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash in that. Like, I can see that possibility and how that would be tempting to go that route, but I just don't think it fits. I would almost prefer to see Liv's run continue as it is. When she does lose the title, maybe that's when the tag run happens. Because I wouldn't have an issue with Liv and Raquel as tag team champions. It's just not while it's tied with the world title, like you said. I'm in a total agreement on that one, Jordy. I think that's a great call. Anthony, though, I got to get your thoughts on it last night. Like Jordy was saying, for Battle Royal, this thing had some structure. This thing had some serious structure. But man, I think about if this match coming up here with Io and Liv was a year ago, the odds are on Io Sky's side, I think, without question. It's pretty amazing to think that that's just in 1 year, 1 calendar year, completely flipped on its head. Thoughts on that, Ant?
I think part of this was a pivot. Obviously, the Rhea injury was not planned, so I think a lot probably had a shift with that because you now took Rhea off the board. So now you got to give Liv somebody to go up against. Io is somebody that was phenomenal on NXT. She's been great on the main roster as well. She is one of the best in the business. I don't think she beats Liv because I think they want to make somebody if Liv loses the title to anyone other than Rhea. I think Lyra probably would be my front runner. If they were going to make anybody, it would probably be her. I did love the Battle Royal. I'm always amazed when they do the spots on the apron to finish the match because there's such a small margin of error that somebody can make the wrong misstep and fall off the apron and the wrong person wins the match. I am always amazed by that. I thought they did a great job the way they played that out. I thought it was phenomenally well done. The German suplex, it was picture perfect. The Raquel Liv scenario, like you said, I thought, oh, they're doing the Shawn Michaels Diesel thing. The only thing is, I'm not sold on Raquel the same way you would have been Diesel with Shawn Michaels. Like Raquel, I don't picture her as the women's champion right now. Like I don't get that from her. But somebody like Lyra, Io, I could see them take the belt off of her, but I can't see Raquel. I don't know why. Maybe I just haven't seen enough of her to rationalize that. But I do think they'll probably go for a tag run with Jade and Bianca, whether they eventually break those up and do the eventual matchup with Bianca and Jade. Whether that's a part of this, I don't know. But I thought it was a really good showcase last night in the Battle Royal.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is an interesting point you make there about Raquel. I'm a big fan of hers in her work, and I think she's been doing really well since her return. But I do think you made a great point. Like right this second, she doesn't feel like she's in the world title picture, or like it just seems like, you know, she's still on the way back almost, right? Like, yes, she's been back for a few months now, but she's still on the way back towards the top, right? It's not like
I think she needs
fresh from when she was in NXT, right? Fresh off of a title run. It's not like that right now.
I feel like she needs the momentum. I feel like at some point they're going to give the belt to Lyra. She's right for that. So Liv would make sense as a rival for her while Rhea's out. To me, it would make sense.
We've got a bunch of comments here, and Caden Lemon agrees with you on that one. I thought they were going to finally push Lyra. I wouldn't have had an issue with that. No problem. DC Warlord's in agreement that Io is probably not winning this one, but it doesn't make it a bad matchup, though. That
no,
is
absolutely not.
For sure. And then I love this one from DCX Warlord with no wonder why Raquel is called Big Mama Cool. That's there you go. Exactly. And then Numero and Superfly with hello. And then also he said, unfortunately, I don't see Io defeating Liv due to lots of interference, although this is just me, but should Raquel wear a more menacing outfit to look more threatening? Something isn't clicking. Honestly, that's not a bad call, but she is kind of wearing all black.
I have a feeling like you don't want to look too much like Rhea or too much like Chyna. Like you want a different look.
Yeah.
So to be in that role.
That is a very good point. Yeah, I don't know that it does just feel like there's like one piece missing. I still think she's really good, and I think her talent's off the charts. Just there's like one more little ingredient, you know.
She doesn't have the scare and the intimidation factor.
Yeah,
like Beth Phoenix had it. Awesome Kong had it. Like there's not that intimidation factor, so I get what they're saying.
Right.
I think she's when she was a face as well. I know this sounds silly. She doesn't have that scary of a face to like. She's got a nice smile that like it's not something that really scares me. Yeah, she could probably still beat me up. I'm not denying that, but it's
Yeah.
not that kind of like strikes the fear of life into you. You know what I mean? So
She's
maybe
physically
a
intimidating.
costume, maybe a more menacing, something in the aesthetic. I agree. Maybe needs to look more intimidating.
That's so true. She has like a very like inviting smile, and she doesn't have that like like physical intimidation, all the intimidation factor that she has. She doesn't have that like lock in on you, stare you down.
She has the look that she could beat you up and then she'll bandage your wounds at the same time. Like, you know,
sorry, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Over on Instagram, Unrealized Thoughts said, I think Io was a bit too soon and think it should have been Lyra, who could have challenged Liv months ago. And then he said, Io is one of the strongest book wrestlers in WWE. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't argue against either of those points. I don't have a problem with either one, Io or Lyra. I do think Lyra will get a shot down the road anyway.
I feel like if you're trying to build Liv up, what's better than beating a credible challenger like Io? Like her beating Io means more for Liv than Liv beating Lyra. But if you make Liv and then have Lyra beat her, that makes Lyra more.
I agree. Caden Lemon also is saying that they should have pushed Lyra, but he does love Io. Yeah, I think everyone's kind of torn on that one. Like either
have you
would
noticed
work.
as well? Liv keeps talking about the fact she retired Becky Lynch recently. She did, and then she stopped, and now she's doing it again. And obviously, Lyra is
tied to Becky.
Yeah, you're tied to Becky. They've got a tie there, so it could even be that kind of shoe in to be like, stop saying that. That's not true, and like, you know what I mean? I don't know, but I agree.
The Netflix Raw debut is right around the corner.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. We got one more comment and then we'll move on to our next topic. DC Warlord said she was a good heel in NXT, referring to Raquel. And that's true. I did think her heel work in NXT was better than it's been on the main roster. That is a very good point. I agree with that one. But let's move on. Let's talk about the tag division. We got a throwback. I felt like this was a match from like 2017. we got the now properly named War Raiders taking on the New Day. I mean, like, get your time machines out. This time, though, not quite as much of a throwback because the War Raiders get the win with the War Machine. I mean, I don't have a problem with them as far as being pushed towards the top of the tag division, but I just kind of want to know what's going on with this whole New Day situation. Like, it's dragged out a little bit now. Like, we need a big spark to reignite the story. And Jordy, do you have any thoughts on what that could be? And what were your thoughts on the match last night?
I like the match. Like I say, I mean, it was a throwback. These two it's two great tag teams, isn't it? We know they're going to put on a solid match, and they did. But yeah, it's what the victory means for the New Day, I think, which is obviously the question that's above everyone's mind. Is it going to be are they going to heel turn together? Is Xavier going to heel turn? Is Kofi going to heel turn? Is Big E going to return? I don't know what's going to happen. And I still really don't have an idea. Tell you what, though, just quickly, the fact that the War Raiders have come back and are potentially going to win the titles, how funny would it be if, like, obviously, the two, I guess you can't say the War Raiders are new coming, but the Motor City Machine Guns just go and win the tag belts, and then the War Raiders come back, win the tag belts. It's just like they're like, all right, we need to sort out this tag division. You are taking the mick, right? We're bringing in two proper tag teams now, and it looks like it could be heading that way, and I wouldn't be mad about it. With the New Day, I kind of would like Kofi to heel turn, I think, just as a bit of a spanner in the works, because although Xavier might be able to do a better job on a heel run, I would like to see him have a run with the crowd behind him. I'm not going to say it's going to be like Kofi Mania, because it won't be, but I would just like Xavier to have those moments where he's really got the crowd behind him. So that's what I'm hoping for, but I'm none the wiser. They've played the cards well with this one.
Yeah, I think so too. And I agree with you on the Woods run on it. We kind of half got it with the King Woods thing, and then it just fizzled out, right? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Not much you can do about that situation. Caden Lemon with a comment here, and I didn't think of this. He said they're waiting till the anniversary to turn Woods.
I believe that's going to be like one of those festival of friendship type moments, and that'll be next Monday on Raw.
Do you think?
See, this was what was making me question, because it's next year on Raw. Next week on Raw, the anniversary. That was what I was thinking. They might end up getting the win and then go for a title match in the 10-year anniversary. And if that goes wrong, it can really sort of end ugly. But I don't know. Like I say, I think they want the tag belts off the Judgment Day, so I think the War Raiders are gonna get them.
I would love that. Actually, I think the War Raiders are an underrated tag team. They've had injury troubles over the years, but they look great. They wrestle great together. They got rid of the bad names. War Raiders is a much better name than any of the Viking experience or whatever.
I didn't hate the Viking rules matches though. DCX Warlord. I said Warlord. I see the comment there. I was they were the one thing about the Vikings that I did enjoy was the Viking rules matches every now and again. They were brutal. They were always fun. Had a couple of risky spots in, so I don't know. I'll miss that, but yeah, I agree. On the whole, it's a good thing.
It was just kind of funny that they would say Viking rules, like such a ridiculous. Like that is one of the most pro wrestling things.
I know what it is more than a bloodline rules match. I still don't know what a bloodline rules match is.
Yeah, what is the bloodline rules? That's just like there are no rules.
At least the Viking rules matches has shields and stuff, and I understand it's a Viking match. Like,
not to get too far off topic, but that just reminds me when I was a kid. It was really funny. I vividly remember watching, I believe it was Raw with my dad, and being baffled as to what the difference between a Chicago street fight was and a regular street fight.
Yeah.
And my dad's just sitting there and he looks me dead in the eye. He goes, "Clark, a Chicago street fight's in Chicago." And I go, "That's it?
That's it?
Like, that's it." I distinctly remember that.
I remember having a WCW video game, and I believe it had no holds barred, no DQ, and Ravens rules. It was all the same match.
All the same. No. Yeah. Well, and honestly, I like the phrase "no holds barred," but it's really funny because that's obviously the older phrase. And, you know, they're interchangeable. They now mean the same thing. Generally, no DQs used more often. But if you really think about it, in like the last 30 years, no holds barred makes no sense. They don't bar any holds.
Yeah.
Right? So like, there's no illegal submissions.
It would make sense if you turned around and went, okay, pile drivers are legals in this match, because it's well known that that's barred from business. One side note, one of the ones that I love the name of it, Ring of Honor used to do it with their hardcore matches. They called them Fight Without Honor.
Yes.
I love that. I don't know why I've always loved that name.
I always found that one.
I like unsanctioned match as well.
Unsanctioned,
I like that.
yes.
Sounds good.
Great. Lights out. Yeah, unsanctioned too, because it's kind of a throwback to like the athletic commission days. And like a shout out to like boxing.
Yeah.
It's like, like, hey, we can't even get the commission to sanction this one. So we're just gonna call it a fight.
Stay and watch if you want, but it's nothing to do with us.
Yeah. Our hands are off this one for sure. It's hilarious. Okay, speaking of companies that have some good hardcore matches and different stipulations, let's talk about one of my absolute favorites, Progress Wrestling. You're going to want to check this out, my friends. If you're watching the show, we already know you're a wrestling fan. Want to watch more wrestling? Head over to Demand Progress Plus. You're going to want to use this code, Watch Progress 1, 50% off your first month. It's the home of Demand. It's the home of Progress Wrestling, as well as Defy and many more other promotions. Some of your all-time faves are on there. You also get the new pay-per-views and the new Progress shows that are off the charts. The promotion is on fire right now. Go check it out and use that code. You're going to get 50% off that first month. No doubt about it. But let's keep it rolling here, guys. Let me get my handy dandy topics list pulled back up, and we are back in business. We've got the return of Sami Uso. Sam Zayn may be back. Things are getting oosier by the minute.
Yes.
Things are getting oosier by the second here. You got Jay and Big Jim trying to talk it out with him. Jay admits finally after all this time that he was wrong all along. And even though they aren't blood, they are family. Big Jim's still not having it.
Big Jim's not feeling oosy. Big Jim's not oosy at all.
He's not feeling Uzi like he was before, and he's not eating either. He's out on all of that stuff right now. He's just Big Jim, keeping it simple. But it sounds like we're gonna have this conversation over on SmackDown.
Yes.
I'm excited for it in like every way. I just love the merch, the honorary use shirt, all of that stuff. I love the moments, and I want to get back to the funny times where Sami Zayn can crack the jokes as opposed to being the one that's the most serious in the ring. That is what I'm looking forward to the most. Anthony, what are you looking forward to the most after that segment last night on Raw and what we're going to see this Friday on SmackDown?
Yeah, I think I forgot my honorary Oos shirt at your house when I was in there for California for Mania. Listen, I love the Sammy stuff. Obviously, I did the El Generico mask on the Halloween episode. This is one of the greatest pictures. I don't even know if this will even show, but I saw this today. Somebody went, of course, Sammy is a member of the family. He's Alpha Anoa.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, to me, I love the story. It's very much, it's quality storytelling. It's a long-term story. We know what Sammy went through. We know how much the family meant to him to be accepted, because Sammy was never a member of a stable. The only bond he ever really had on screen long-term was Kevin Owens at the time of Kevin Steen. You know, that was his only real major bond. So him with a stable was the first time. And the fun part is, even behind the scenes, Sammy and that entire family are incredibly tight. Like, it's not just, they're friends on camera, but off camera, they hate each other. It's it's genuine. And there's just chemistry that you can't teach. Call it cheesy, call it whatever you want. I thought it was a great line last night. And I think it was the perfect spot to do it in essentially like Sammy's second home. Outside of Canada, Saudi Arabia is Sammy country. Also, it's very much Jey Uso country based on what that crowd's response was when Jey went out there. It might even been more than Sammy. So I think it's great. It's quality storytelling. We're on our way to Survivor Series. A bunch of us have said this multiple times. It's going to be OG Bloodline against New Bloodline. That's our strong belief. At least that's my strong belief. And to drag this out, to have Roman admit that he was wrong, because at some point he's going to admit he was wrong with Sammy, whether it's right away, whether a wise man has to get in his ear, it's going to happen. And I think the fans want to see it. The fans loved the Bloodline with Sammy. They were very oozy for it. Let's put it that way. The fans absolutely loved it.
I bought all the merch.
You know, I missed out on that one, but it was
it was a great time. It was a great time. Okay, Kobe actually added in the comments. Also, I forgot about the Artist Collective, by the way. I mean, that's still not right. Besides, that was a fleeting moment.
Oh, I wouldn't count that as.
But it is kind of funny. I'm like, to think about. I'm like, it doesn't take away from what you mentioned about the Kevin Owens and the bond with them. But to think how far he's come since the Artist Collective in the eyes of the fans is pretty astounding, actually. Like, Sammy, I mean, I also do think he is friends with El Generico, I think. They know each other, at least.
I'm not sure if they're on speaking terms these days, but I know they were close at one time.
They were close in the past. But yeah, Jordy, what's your opinion on the return of the oosiest of the Usos?
I love it. I maybe be the one to say it could have been longer. Like the getting to this point, it should have taken longer, and it maybe could have been done a little bit better. But all that is a reflection on how incredible the storylines, the Bloodline story, has always been throughout time. And no, I just think it's going to be a fantastic moment. My big question is, we get to the inevitable war games between OG Bloodline and New Bloodline, and where do we go from there? Are the OG Bloodline going to go over at that point? Because obviously they were pretty much unstoppable. I think it's fair to say when they were a team of 4. I thought it was really interesting that moment at Crown Jewel when Solo was stood in the middle of the ring, because it just clicked in my head at that point that it was like, oh yeah, you were one of them. Like if you weren't doing this, it'd be all 5 of you getting back together maybe. But no, Solo's obviously doing his own thing, and I'm actually a big fan of the work that Solo's doing. I see that some people aren't so much at points, but from the moment he had big shoes to fill, and I think he's done a pretty stellar job at it. In all fairness, I think it'll be a great War Games match, one to go down in history probably.
I agree. I think he gets too hard of a time for the work because he was never going to be as charismatic as Roman Reigns out of the gates.
He's different. He's funny. He's funny at different points. He's ad-libbing. His turns to his looks to the camera. And you sometimes see like clips of him at live shows interacting with fans and stuff. Solo does have a sense of humor. Yes. And I think when he gets to kind of flex that muscle, I think it's kind of when he's at his best. So yeah, I've got high hopes for Solo in the future. Quick question to you guys though. After all said and done, who do you think will sit on the throne? Do you think it'll be Roman? Do you think he'll be tribal chief? Do you think Jay will get that elevation? Do you think Jimmy will finally do something?
I could see when all is said and done, it could be Jay, because if you play this outright, it would be fitting full circle moment if Jay's the guy when everything is said and done. He's the guy that beats Roman. He takes the throne, whatever. I think that Jay would make the most sense long term.
Yeah, so it won't be for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, Caden Lemon added that he thinks that Jacob Fatu will one day be the tribal chief.
Good point.
I mean, that's possible.
I think Jacob's beyond that. Like, I don't think he'll necessarily be considered a tribal chief. Jacob will be a world champion. He will be on the top of this business. But storyline wise, tribal thing, yeah, I kind of feel like it's going to die with Roman or Jay.
I would say if you're asking me, I'm leaning towards stick with Roman, and sort of like over time. I don't want to say it goes away, but like it. We're not going to keep it for the next 20 years as a motif on WWE television, right? As much as I love long-term storytelling and stuff like that, this isn't going to be like it's like an extra title, right? I get the tribal chief champion, right? Like
I could see, depending upon how much longer Roman wants to do this, because we don't know what his health and everything else. He's achieved everything in this business. If he retired within, let's say, the next 3 to 5 years, I'm just saying, I could see his last match being with Jay and putting Jay over.
Oh, you know that
from that standpoint.
That I didn't think of. That's actually, I mean, Jay, or for that matter, even Solo.
Solo, yeah.
I could see Solo too. But Jay makes the most sense to your point.
Right now, when you look at it right now and the landscape right now, I agree.
Yeah. That's the most interesting part about this story is throughout, even though there's a level of predictability, there's things that we can kind of see coming because they give you like the little nuggets. There are so many routes you can go because there's so many players involved. There's a lot of variables with each step in the story.
Yeah.
So you can kind of pivot on a dime compared to other stories we've seen told this long in professional wrestling easier because you just have like, you know, unlike the NWO where it just got so big, the members blended together in the background. There was like 3 people in front and then a bunch of t-shirts, right? Each member brings something different to the table, except maybe poor Tungaloa just seems to be left in the dark all the time.
There's always got to be one.
But
and Jimmy, to be fair, in all fairness, like
when
you look at the rest of them, when you look at obviously where Jay's gone since this Bloodline story, Solo, even Roman, Jimmy does seem like the one that's just, and Sammy as well. Sammy's benefited hugely from the Bloodline story. Yes. It doesn't feel like right now maybe that Jimmy has, but not to the same level as those other guys.
He has like by association, right?
Yeah.
They used it as a vehicle for Jay, for Sammy, to go on a bigger singles type run. right? Post the original breakup.
Like the fact that he comes out with Roman still, and Jay was like, "I'm Jay Uso, you're Jimmy Uso, he's Roman Reigns," but he just comes out behind Roman still, and he's like, "Bro, just come out on your own then. Like, use your own music that you made."
I don't think anybody envisioned Jay's solo run. Like like if you went back and you said Jay's going to have this unbelievable solo run, because he was so known as a tag team
It came
guy.
from a drunk press conference with Cody Rhodes. That's like the yeet came from that, and then it was like lightning in a bottle, and he just ran with it, and then it got banned, which made it even bigger, and everyone. So then you couldn't say yeet, and it was just
too funny.
When
everything fell perfectly.
When something is taboo, and you're told you can't say this, you can't do that. What do you want to do? Say it or do it. And they greatly benefited from the split second that was banned.
It's why people chanted CM Punk for years. People not even a huge fan of CM Punk will have been like, "Oh, we shouldn't be doing this."
It's just hijacking the show.
You know what I mean?
This is fun.
Yeah.
No,
it's so evil.
It's so true. And I do think one of the few, to your point about Jimmy, one of the few missteps as far as the story is concerned is the match against each other at Mania. Because they told the story the best in the video package.
Great promo package.
Nowhere else.
Yeah.
Right? And I also, as much as I've loved this Jay run, I think Jimmy should have won that match. I think that should have been Jimmy going over. Especially when you look at like they talked about Jimmy was the prom king. Jimmy was the captain of the football team. They both were good football players. They both were popular. But that's who Jimmy was when they were growing up. He's technically whatever he was, 8 minutes older or something like that. They said in the video package, right? And really told that whole story. And then Jay just goes over the babyface, and they fizzle out. I think Jimmy should have won that match.
It's kind of funny because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was only the third time siblings have faced each other at Mania. I believe the Hardys and then Brett and Owen, I think, were the other two.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, like out of those three,
the times the heel won as well.
The Brett Owen one is probably more memorable and more beloved. The Hardy one, I don't recall it necessarily living up to the hype.
The Hardy one, yeah, it was better build than it was the match.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
No, but it was
good.
But it was like a one and done.
Right.
I think the finish wasn't great.
Yeah.
You always, with Hardys, you tended to get a pretty spectacular finish. And
wasn't it Matt that went over?
Yeah, Matt went over. That's what I mean. This was the first time really in a Mania brother feud that the face has gone over, and it wasn't a good idea, I don't think.
Because
Kane Undertaker. I'm kidding.
Spoiler alert.
I'm sorry. I had to.
Well, that one, the babyface went over. And
they're not really brothers?
Yeah, they are. It's Christmas time soon. Don't be saying things like that.
They're brothers. They're brothers. They've long been brothers.
Roman Reigns is here, by the way.
Remember the funeral home got burnt down. All of it.
I mean, literally the very next pay-per-view, he set Kane on fire.
That rivalry, by the way, speaking of that long-term rivalries, I think I would actually say we talked a lot about the Bloodline storyline just now, but I think that's probably the greatest long-term rivalry of all time.
That is the Kane and Abel of wrestling.
Yeah,
feuds.
Absolutely. Can you imagine if one day this Bloodline unites as a team of like 10? Like, what's going to happen? That'll be Endgame. That's the Endgame moment where you've got Cody Rhodes and 10 others behind him, and then 10 Bloodline.
The Endgame is just one set of a Noah family relatives against another set of a Noah family relatives.
Yeah. That's so true. All right. Well,
and Sammy.
And Sammy. Well, Sammy, of course.
Yes.
Things have to be Uzi. Let's get to our final topic of this evening, depends on where you are. We've got Damian Priest, former world champion.
El Campeón.
Next up for Gunther. I really loved the match itself last night. I mean, I thought anytime you get like Rollins, Priest, Mysterio, Sheamus in the same ring, it's going to deliver. I enjoy Fatal 4-Way action often. I actually thought they made the right call with Priest getting the win here. It was kind of unpredictable to me watching the match, though. I'm like, are they really going to go with like Dom? Like, no, because I'm like, Dom is now getting to the point where he's so much fun. I like the heel work is still great, but I'm starting to get, I can't lie. I think he's flipped me. I'm starting to like want to root for him.
You know what the funny part is?
It pains me to say that.
Remember the funny part, and this is a side thing. Before they turned him, you hated Dom, and I said, I think he's got a heel run in him. I think it could work.
Like,
and you
before
were
they
like,
turned him which time? Before they turned him again at SummerSlam, or before they heel turned him the first time?
Before he turned darker. But it was so funny because Clark and I would have this argument off air, and I'm like, I'm telling you, I think he's got something in him.
Honest to goodness, I did not expect the run that he's had, but now I'm starting to want to root for him because he's so funny.
Yes,
he's way fun. You're talking about Solo being funny. Dom is funny, man. Like the facials and the stuff. He's really, really, really good. That's not the point, though. We've got Priest up next for Gunther. Round 2. Jordy, your thoughts on that one? I don't see Gunther losing this belt anytime soon, but sign me up for this match.
This is literally me. See, now you guys are new to Tuesdays. I literally, more or less every week, I'm calling for Gunther to lose this title. And I say it every week. It's nothing against Gunther. I think he's a great champion. I just want to see him have some kind of like run on the main roster where he's not got a belt strapped to him, because I know he can still have a great feud without that belt being strapped to him. And the thing I've wanted for the longest time is Kaiser to turn on him. And I think we're finally maybe starting to see cracks of Kaiser and Gunther starting to fall apart, because it's nothing against Kaiser. It's because of my respect for him that, like, Imperium are no longer. If Giovanni Vinci was still part of it and Kaiser and Vinci could go for the tag belts and they could get involved in their own division and still be champions, then yeah, I would be absolutely all for it. But the fact of the matter is, he's on his own while Gunther's going off winning championships in Kaiser's home country of Germany, being welcomed in as a hometown hero when he's Austrian. That's going to wind someone up. And I want to see that storyline play out. Like, I really want to see it. I've wanted it from when we were at Bash in Berlin. I wanted it to happen then, because it's such a good kind of platform to go off. And then obviously we know that they're long-term friends and partners. So that's what I want to see. And hopefully, I'm a huge Priest fan. So if it happens sooner rather than later and Priest ends up with a belt again because of it, then happy days for me.
By the way, to be clear, I'm in agreement on, I actually would prefer Gunther to lose the title to be able to tell that story with Kaiser and tell some other stories. I just don't think that's the route they're going to go.
Yeah, me neither.
I do want to clear that up. Like, I'm not saying that that's like that's what I want to happen. I just don't see it happening. Anthony, though, do you think it's possible? Is Priest the one to take it off him? And then are you also looking forward to I love what Jordy said about the Kaiser and Gunther rivalry. That has to happen at some stage.
It's kind of funny because I thought if the Kaiser one was going to happen, because I thought that myself, I thought if they were going to do it, they would have done it with the Intercontinental title. I thought that's what they were leaning towards before the Sammy part came into play. I don't picture them giving Kaiser the world title. I'd be very surprised if they did. At least right now. This is all based on right now, not necessarily in the future. I don't think Priest takes it from him. It's possible, but I just don't think it is. Oddly enough, I think it might be Sammy again. I think Sammy might be the one to take the belt off of Gunther, and because Kaiser turns on him. I have for some reason, I think Sammy gets the belt off of Gunther. And I think because they have the history, because he ended his Intercontinental title reign, his legendary reign that at Mania. I think that's where it goes. Side note, I did love when they interviewed Gunther in the back, and obviously he was passive aggressive towards Kaiser, but I loved when he was going down the list of his opponents and he goes, I have nothing but respect for Priest. I have nothing but respect for Seth Rollins. And then there's Dom. Like he just like just the complete dismissal of Dom, which, at some point, like maybe that's the point when Kaiser turns on him and Dom gets an upset win over him, not for the title, but just gets a win over him. But I do think at some point Kaiser's going to turn on him, whether or not he gets back together with Vinci, because obviously they're not doing nothing with Vinci. after that initial, hey, let's do promos and let's do a couple things, and then he just went back to catering. As far as I know, he's not injured. So I think that's where it goes, but I think Priest and Gunther is going to be a very hard-hitting, incredible match. I am very curious if they're going to try to repackage Priest a little bit to get away, to maybe change the look a little bit. I know there have been rumors of that, and maybe have him lose to Gunther and then return in the Rumble with the new look. Maybe. I don't know. It's entirely possible.
I got a couple things from what you said first off, Sami Zayn, that is a great call. He has clearly firmly entered the conversation for best active wrestler to never be a world champion.
Yep.
In the WWE. He's
in all of wrestling.
He's
never hit on any of them.
Yeah. So I think he's like as high on that list as anybody. When it comes to Gunther and Kaiser, I'm all over that as well. I like the idea of Kaiser turning on him. That's how you get to Sammy. Then you can play out the Gunther Kaiser rivalry off of that title win.
Yep.
So you don't have to have the Sammy Gunther rematch.
Yep.
And hot potato it. That can sort of take that off the table.
Yep.
I would be all for that. When it comes to Vinci, though, it is a Tuesday, and obviously there's no NXT tonight, but I got to do Shad and Drizzy proud on this one because we've been talking about it for weeks. You know, the Dawn has a couple of times mentioned calling back home, like Sicily, and like often old mafia movies, you're gonna have like the real boss, the main guy back home in Italy. I think it'd be really cool if that's how we end up getting Tony D on the main roster. Is Vinci is that guy in Italy pulling the strings with the family, and that's how you can sort of bring them up. That would be the one thing if you're gonna keep him away from Kaiser and Gunther that I'd be like, I'm interested in that. That'd be cool.
I think, Tony leading the family in NXT, I think I've always enjoyed it. And maybe it's because I'm Italian, but regardless, I enjoy the story. I enjoy the gimmick. I do think it would be a lot of fun on the main roster. I just don't know where you put it. Like that would be my only fear on that.
The other part of it because at first we were kind of like, right, but why would you have Vinci be the leader when he's the Don and like Tony D? And I'm like, well, with the English issue, the Don can speak Italian, so he speaks on his behalf. Vinci is the leader, but the Don is running the show. He's running the operation. So he's going to be the one on the mic at the front. And then you can down the road play that rivalry out too. You got choices there. And that I think it's a nice little workaround on the promo cutting issue for Giovanni.
You could also say that they're family or something like that. If you wanted to repackage Vinci, more mob-esque, you could totally do that with Tony D. I think it could work.
Like he's calling the shots from back home in Sicily. He's that guy in the movie, right? He's the one that's giving Lucky Luciano the instructions on how to, run the organization and whatnot. I think that'd be kind of a cool concept, right? Like he's the boss from back home.
Yeah.
I would be all over that. But either way, I'm excited about it. Priest Gunther's up next. That is going to bring us to the end of today's show, though. It's been a blast. Thank you, everybody that tuned in. We really appreciate it. If you haven't smashed that like and subscribe button, please do it. Helps us out a ton. We are here every single day at the same time, same place. That's noon Pacific, 3 o'clock over on the East Coast. That's 8 in the UK, and of course, 9 a.m. in Hawaii. On behalf of me, Clark Taylor, Anthony Ricciardi, and Jordy, have an excellent Tuesday, and we will talk to y'all soon.